Retweet.
Dude, I just learned that if you click on the thing, their number pops up.
Their name? The last name?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just don't know how to do that, like that moderator stuff, man.
Oh yeah. Definitely.
People forget, man. I'm still new to this, dude. I'm still new, man. How was your Friday, bro?
It's all right, dude. Long work day, and then I had to come home and mow as much as I could before the battery died in my big ass yard.
You need a battery for your lawnmower? That's
Yeah, we don't have
un-American.
gas. We have a electrical or battery charged one.
How does that work?
You just charge the battery, put it in, turn it on, and then you're ready to go.
Shannon, hello. Abigail, hello. We have fans, Cody. We have
Did
fans.
you have fans?
No, we have fans.
I got one fan, it's Cameron.
Ricardo said Lakers in 6. Absolutely
Oh my
not.
god! Picture Ricardo.
You already know what the Rocket. Ricardo needs to come on the stream, man. But you already know what the Rockets are gonna be. They're gonna be better than the Lakers. Shannon said, "Huge fans. We are huge fans of you, Shannon. How was your Friday going? What's going on today? We're just going to be talking football, talking about things going on. Deshaun Watson was with Carmelo Anthony on his YouTube channel. What's in your drink? A lot to talk about. Talked about, racism going on in the NFL, how he's going to expect more from the Texans organization. But, we're just going to let a few people hop in the chat, man. So, Cody.
Sure, what's up?
What are you doing tomorrow?
I'm so busy tomorrow. We got my niece or my cousin's birthday lunch. I'm gonna go out to my mom's, do some stuff, come back, clean, we're having people over because my girlfriend's best friend, we're having her little party here. Get together, not party. Don't freak out on me.
That's good, bro. As you all know, we were, Ricardo, thank you for the $2.99 pair character with lovey-dovey eyes blowing red hearts in the air. What? What?
On my phone is showing a pair blowing lovey-dovey.
Oh, he sent emojis.
Yeah.
I was like, why would he type that? But, tomorrow is a very special day for me. Hold on. Shannon has a very question I want to get to. Did you really clean, though? You was in the chat yesterday. Shannon, we all know what we think happened. We think Cody lied about it because his girlfriend told him to come off.
I was doing the dishes, all right? What do you mean? I live in an old house, so we don't have a dishwasher, so I got to hand wash all that shit.
We have a dishwasher and still wash with our hands.
Okay, fair enough.
But, tomorrow, man, UFC 251. If you're not watching it, I don't know why you wouldn't be. You have 3 championship fights. You have one, Jose Aldo, looking to win back some gold. He's in a later stage of his career. What is up, Dookie Score?
Ricardo wants that 1v1, man.
1v1 at what?
I don't know anything. He tagged me one time and was like, he shared a post. It's like your third ad, so you can play 1-on-1 in basketball. So he got me, he tagged me, right? And he's like, oh, I whooped that. I was like, boy, please.
So the first text of the day comes towards Houston, Texas. What is going on with J.J. Watt and Deshaun? Well, one thing we know about, J.J. Watt is, before I get to this, Han Solo said, how about me and you catch around? Let's do it, bro. My takedown is superior than yours. Easily choke you out, put you in an arm bar. We could post live. Shout out to Han Solo, too. He's streaming. He has a gaming channel. Han Solo, feel free to drop your information in the chat and have the boys follow. But going back to the Houston Texans question, J.J. Watt looks like he's absolutely jacked. At first we thought the dude was on crack because of how skinny he looked. We thought he was going to be switching positions to outside linebacker, but he said he's been the same weight. He looks in incredible shape, and that is what you want, right? Because what is the one thing Anthony Weaver said? He said the Houston Texans need J.J. Watt to be what? able to play 16 games. If he's able to, we all know this defense is changing. The first couple weeks, a lot of other players fed off JJ. While we saw Whitney Merciless go for 5 sacks, 5 forced fumbles, an interception. He was a dark horse for defensive MVP. We had a very good run stopping game, but when he was hurt, we died down. So that's why I think if he's healthy, this Houston Texans defense is going to be much better than anticipated.
He looks very lean, to say
Mhm.
the least. Very lean. And, say what you will about Watt and his injuries, he still has one of the quickest first steps in the league. First step for a defensive end to beat tackles is exactly, it's key. So that, and if he's around the same weight, but he's, in shape and it's not like muscle weight, it's like lean weight, then maybe he can be even quicker. So, again, but it all depends on if he can stay healthy.
Absolutely agree. It's just he can, he's going to bring that leadership. One thing about JJ Watt is that when the lights are on, he's going to do best. Going back to that Bills game, when nobody expected him to do anything, me and you actually talked about it. We said all we need JJ Watt to do is make a tackle, and he's going to change the game. And what does he do? He gets a sack, and it just shifts like that.
Yeah. Dude, when he's in the game, they got a game. The other team has to game plan for him. Even if he's not doing anything, they have to game plan for him.
What's up, Houston boy? Also, Han Solo. It is Z Zenith at Twitch TV. Y'all go check him out. He plays video games every single day. I don't know how he does it. I definitely could not do it. If you could add any non-QB besides Aaron Donald, what would you pick? Cody. I'm going to let you go first because you're going to be surprised by my answer.
Okay, any non-QB, I would have to go defense. And then I'm going, you know who I'm going? I'm going Darius Leonard.
Darius Leonard, the maniac.
Darius Leonard, dude. He was top 10 in coverage last year, and we all know him as a run stuffer, man. He would be a linebacker that can do that. That or Myles Garrett. Myles Garrett would have been an easy one.
Even though he smashes helmets in people's heads?
Yeah, even though.
If it was up to me, what do you think the Houston Texans lack right now?
So, like I said, it's got to be something on defense right now, right?
It has to be something on defense.
A safety, an edge, or a coverage linebacker.
Chandler Jones out of Arizona. Okay. I've been a huge fan of Chandler Jones. Dude is a sack machine.
Mm-hmm. Oh, definitely. And I just kind of went young as well as talented for my pick, but Chandler Jones is definitely a good one.
There's a possibility Chandler Jones becomes a Houston Texan.
Why do you say that?
They're about to pay DeAndre Hopkins a boatload of money. A boatload of money. You know who they're not going to be able to afford? Chandler Jones.
They already paid Chandler Jones, and they're not going to be able to afford Chandler Jones. When Patrick Peterson will be gone before Jones, I think. And then you're paying Kyler Murray 4 more years on a rookie contract. I think you'll have enough.
Do you think J.J. Watt's going to play? That whole narrative, Cloud EP2Z, was that he was just talking about if they are going to wear, like a face mask, then he is not going to play. And why would you? When I was in football, I tried to play with the visor. I don't know why I did, but I was a lineman trying to play with the visor. I could not do it. So, but he said he's going to play.
He's going to play. If the NFL is playing, he's going to play. He's not going to miss out on that check, for one. 2, the mask thing, I doubt it happens. As soon as they try that and someone passes out on the field,
they're going to take it away.
Yeah, exactly. So he'll play.
16 games from him on your defense makes leaps and bounds. Absolutely, guys. If you guys do me a favor, go check out Mr. Harley Duke, and he has a very good YouTube channel, very good Instagram page. Harley, please drop your stuff. It's called The Lead. I don't know how he edits his pictures, dude, but he is very, very good. Yeah. But yeah, like I said, when JJ Watt's on the field, we are unstoppable. Not unstoppable. We are a very good defense.
It's gonna help the rest of the team.
Absolutely.
That's why I'm not on the trade him yet.
Oh, I've been trying to trade this dude for a long time.
I just think we need more. We need to invest more in the pass rush. We've done some, but not enough, in my opinion.
Going back to that question, who would you have non-Texan? Harley says Stephon Gilmore. You cannot go wrong with Stephon Gilmore. Here's our harder one. If we had taken Manziel 1, how do you think he pans out? He wasn't going to pan out. You know what was crazy? I was on the Manziel hype train for about 2 days. I saw him at the Rockets game alongside Arian Foster, and I was like, man, we need a quarterback. You know who I wanted? Honestly, no joke. I wanted Teddy Bridgewater.
Dude, we were going after him. Minnesota jumped us for the 32nd pick in the first round. We had the first pick in the second. They took him. We were going to take Teddy.
Yeah, I mean, first round, obviously I wanted either Jadeveon. Honestly, I wanted Clowney. Yeah. But I also wanted them to find a way to get Teddy Bridgewater. I thought at that time we still had Andre Johnson, still very good in the NFL, do some damage.
Yeah. And then we took Xavier Su'a-Filo.
Yeah, now he's on the Cowboys.
No, he's on the Bengals. He might have to start for the Bengals.
Wow. I mean, I guess it's working out for him. What do you think the record is going to be if healthy? This team 11-5.
9-7 for me. I mean, I think we talked about it in the last 3 streams, but I think the tough schedule and the tough division is going to play more than a lot of Texas fans want to admit.
As you can see, the lead on Instagram, the lead Houston Sports on YouTube. I remember you wanted Bridgewater. That's all you talked about at school. I was on the Bridgewater train, man. I was just like, you need to get this dude out of Louisville. He's going to be an absolute stud, a mobile quarterback. I just wanted Bridgewater every ounce in me. Shannon said 11-5, easy. Fernando's a little too optimistic. He said 14-2.
That kills. Okay, so it's funny because it seems like the sweet spot for every team, the sweet spot is 13-3. Like, I've seen it for the Cowboys. I've seen it for the Bengals for whatever reason. I've seen it for the Texans. I've seen it for the Colts. 13-3. And I just, as a Texans fan, when you watch games like Denver last year or Carolina last year, how can you pick 13-3? 9-5?
So, can you tell everybody why you think the Houston Texans are going to go 9-7?
All right.
For the 100th time.
Listen, okay. You didn't really upgrade talent-wise on defense, for one. You are hoping for a lot of internal growth, which doesn't always work out. It could, but it doesn't always. Most of the time, it actually doesn't. You got a rookie coordinator on both sides, honestly. I mean, Tim Kelly was the coordinator last year, but he wasn't calling plays. So you got a rookie offensive coordinator and a rookie defensive coordinator. And then I'm sorry, hold on. So with that, and then you go to the offensive side, and you have the most turnover in the NFL, or in the NFL on offense this year in the weirdest offseason in NFL history. And you got a second-round rookie, but again, the weirdest offseason in NFL history. I'm losing my train of thought. It's going to take a while for all these guys to mesh. And then you look at the tough starting schedule: Kansas City, Baltimore, Pittsburgh. That might be the toughest first 3 games for any team in the NFL this year. And then you got Green Bay with a revenge tour, Aaron Rodgers. You got Chicago in December. And then look at the division. The division is going to be tough. It's going to be tough. This might be the second toughest division in the NFL this season, behind the NFC West. It's realistic to think 9-7. I don't see how people can say 11-5 easy when you got the tough division. I think we've been lucky to win the division the past 2 years. And the tough starting schedule. If we start off slow, which we started off 0-3 before just 2 years ago to way lesser opponents, it's realistic thinking, in my opinion.
Do you have a baby crawling around your floor, dude, or do you have a pet?
Dog, yeah.
Week 1 is going to see how good the Texans be. The first 7 games of the schedule is going to let you know how Texans be, because we've played, I think, 6 teams that were in the playoffs last year. I mean, I'm saying 6 because the Steelers were in contention until the very, very last game.
In the first 7 games, you said?
Yes.
So you got Kansas City, Baltimore, Green Bay.
Let me pull it up. Let's not do this to ourselves.
Play the Steelers. You got the Vikings, so that's 4. Or did the Vikings make it last year?
Yep. You got the Chiefs, Ravens, Vikings, Titans, Packers. Well, you got 5, but I'm
Five.
including the
Still.
Steelers because
Steelers were right there
they
too.
were right there. I'm saying 6 of the 7 teams should have been playoff teams. So it's going to be a hard couple games. Dookie Sore, I love it. I love saying this dude's name. Dookie Sore 101, 10-6. I really believed Mac Mayock and his talks about Khalil Mack from Buffalo made me change from JD. I mean, the thing about Khalil Mack is everybody was like, "Do you really think some like guy from Buffalo is going to come out and ball out?" It looks like he is, man. Hindsight, I would have easily taken Khalil Mack. Defensive Player of the Year. I think he was Rookie Defensive Player of the Year. He's an absolute beast.
Definitely.
If we get AB stay healthy, we go 12-4. You already know how I feel about AB. If we get AB, I'm just ecstatic. I'm screaming. I don't care where I'm at. I would hop on live. Cody, you'll be on here too. We have to get Harley on the next stream.
Is my dog being loud? Like, is it pretty?
I'm not gonna say I'm bothered by it, but it's there.
Give me 1 sec.
I mean, we all love dogs. I have a dog named Snowball. She just barks at everything. What's your Xbox username? I don't really play that much anymore because I'm working, but I'm gonna just drop it. Oh my god.
All right, go lay down. Here. All right.
I could see Blacklock winning Rookie Defensive Player of the Year. You would hope so. I mean, but as a defensive tackle,
yeah.
It's going to be very tough. He will have to just absolutely ball out. What was y'all thoughts on the 24-0 coming from New? Here's the thing, and I had a lot of people get upset at me for it. I said that I don't care who you are. If you take shots at my team, I'm gonna, absolutely clap back. And I've always been that way. Whether I was on a team and somebody left and they were talking smack, I went back forth. Or when I coached a player and they left and they talked smacked about me, But his comment was definitely a shot at Bill O'Brien. Was definitely a shot at the Houston Texans organization. What was your thoughts, Cody?
I cracked up laughing. I thought it was hilarious. Dude, he was on the team. Like, he was talking smack about himself a little bit at that point, too. Like, it's just hilarious. Like, why are we getting so hurt? It's what happened. I mean, if you want to move on, you got to laugh at it. So I cracked up laughing. I thought it was hilarious.
I mean, it was just being petty. Harley laughed
That's
emoji.
why it was hilarious.
The dog. Abby said puppy. Gardner Minshew has a better card than Deshaun Watson. What do you mean by card? I'm not sure what that means. Harley says, shout out to the dog. Yeah, shout out to all the dogs out there. Even if they're making noise when you're supposed to be streaming. Shout out to all the dogs. Michaela Hannah Wacker said, the boy with the mustache knows his stuff. We both have mustaches, so I don't know who you're talking about. Shout out to Hannah, Cody's significant other. I see Green-eyed more. His situation is better to me. Grenard has a lot of hype. More hype than Ross Blacklock. We've seen people like Texans Thoughts talk about him. Shout out to Texans Thoughts. He just hit 1,000 subscribers. We've seen a lot of people talk about how good Grenard could be. I mean, when you lead the SEC in sacks, when you lead the SEC in tackles for loss, you're not a scrub. Like, what do you think about, Jonathan Grenard?
So what is he? I see Grenard more. His situation is better to me. What does he mean?
Like a Rookie Defensive Player of the Year.
See, the thing is, Grenard. All right, I definitely see Blacklock getting more play time than Grenard, especially early on. Grenard's positioning, I think O'Brien said he was going to come and play the opposite outside backer across from Whitney. So it just depends on how good his actual pass coverage is, because that drop linebacker spot, or jack, or whatever you want to call it, I've heard it multiple different names, is more in pass coverage. It's not just a straight edge rusher like the Sam linebacker for what Whitney plays. So,
absolutely.
And plus, he's a third round rookie again in the weirdest offseason ever. He might not start. It still might be Brendan Scarlett starting. The first how many ever games, and I don't even like Brendan Scarlett, but that might be what it is.
If Bill O'Brien was fired, who will be the best coach and why? Now check this out. Before y'all get mad at me, before y'all are just like, Ruben, you're dumb. Gary Kubiak or Gary Kubiak's son. We saw how dangerous this offense was with an immobile Matt Schaub and how great he was with the play action. Right now, Gary Kubiak has Kirk Cousins looking like an MVP. Can you imagine with a better offensive line, which we expect, speedy wide receivers, and Deshaun Watson in that system? Can you imagine how deadly that would be?
Yeah, that would be interesting. Definitely play actions with Watson over, I mean, that just goes to show what we were talking about yesterday, that play action works no matter what. You have Matt Schaub running play action all the time. It still worked, So it would be interesting to see. I was almost guaranteeing, I thought in my head you were going to say Bieniemy.
Oh, him too. I mean,
I have reservations on Bieniemy. Like, I know he calls plays, but we talked about this yesterday too. It's still Andy Reid's offense that he's running.
So you don't think there's a situation where he takes what he learned from Andy Reid?
He could, but it's like, how do I word this? So, it's not, you're using someone else's playbook to call plays. It's not your playbook. He might bring some stuff over from what he learned from Andy Reid, but Andy Reid is an offensive genius. An offensive genius, those only come around one in every 10 coaches or so, maybe even more. And I just don't see. It's just tough for me because I don't know how much actually Bieniemy actually calls plays. I know he does, but when does Andy Reid take over and call plays? When does he override Bieniemy? So it's just, I don't know. It's tough for me to see. Something I would like to see is what about Harbaugh from Michigan?
Here's the thing about Harbaugh. A lot of people think that he's not going to be good. But if you look at the quarterback for Michigan, Shea Patterson, was an absolute bum. Never had a very good quarterback. But the thing was, when he was with the 49ers, they were damn good. You would give him a better quarterback than what he had in Alex Smith and Colin Kaepernick, But I think he could build his team. I think he's an excellent players coach.
Here's something I'll say about the Harbaugh brothers is they scheme around the players they have.
Yeah.
That, like with Kaepernick, I mean, that dude, he needed to be running the football, and that's what Harbaugh had him do. That's why they were successful to almost winning a Super Bowl. I mean, Watson's a better pocket passer. He's going to have him throw more, run play action, because he is that threat. So Harbaugh is interesting. I also something that's interesting is the defensive coordinator from the 49ers would be interesting.
Oh yeah. I mean he excites me.
Yeah.
Anything excites. We'll say right now, chances AB and Jamal become Texan before week 1. I think you got less than 10%.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
Less than 10%. Grenard's going to be a steal. We're all expecting Grenard to be absolutely beast. Roby is a brast. We'll just say beast. There you go. Thing about Roby is that he was very good. The Texans moved him all across the defensive side of the ball, all across. The only question is can he stay healthy?
And he's brought in to guard Hill or T.Y. Hilton, and he missed both those games. Right?
Yeah.
So
I've heard we've been talking with Logan Ryan. I don't find the need to talk to Logan Ryan. The dude allowed the most passes in the NFL, was targeted the most by the NFL.
We already have a ton of slot corners.
Yeah.
And he wants $10 million, and obviously nobody's going to pay that. You already have a job.
What's up, Ruben? Nice Beats by Dre. This is my Turtle Beaches that I bought from Let Go. Shout out to Let Go. Dude charged me $20 from him. Footballer 503. You guys follow Footballer. Did you hear about the XFL coming back, getting new ownership? So it's not going to be run by Vince McMahon no more?
Well, that's what I was talking to Tiger Texan, I believe it was, in the chat yesterday, and he said something about there's a bunch of investors call him because it was pretty successful for the time it was up.
That was
Just,
fun.
yeah, just COVID. Like, what horrible timing, for them.
I mean, horrible timing all around, man.
I
People
know,
are
but to start up a
struggling.
whole league, like that's just some bad luck there.
Okay. I don't like Scarlett one bit. I don't think none of us like Scarlett. Um, Kubiak has a son. He definitely does has a son. Do you have any more information about Kubiak's son, Mr. Cody?
Is he with the Vikings?
I believe so. We're gonna have to ask Mr. Harley Dugan Kubiak's son. I told you he's gonna be a dark horse. Absolutely agree. Fernando said a Chiefs OC, or enemy or 49ers DC. You already
Oh,
talked
okay.
about him. Do you think Deshaun Watson is going to get traded? Absolutely not. Deshaun Watson is not going anywhere. He said it himself. He wants to be here. Deshaun Watson is going to be a Texan until the wheels fall off. Who is your least favorite player on the team, and who would be your dream placement? Good question, Nathan Gurecki. No shirt in his profile pic. I'm gonna let you take this one first.
So, I mean, we kind of just talked about it. Right now, it's Brennan Scarlett. I just don't think he does really anything good. The only reason he'd be starting is because he knows the playbook, and he's a veteran on this team. He has chemistry with other players. And then earlier, like I said, a perfect replacement for him specifically would be Darius Leonard. That dude's gonna be best linebacker in the league here in a couple.
In your opinion, who is the most overrated team heading into 2020? The Tennessee Titans. Tennessee Titans are going to be the most overrated team.
I don't think so, man.
Are we? All right, go.
So I'm gonna do a whole video on the Texans versus the Titans. So I'll get that out. I think early next week. I don't think they're gonna. It's they know what they want to do. They know what they have to do to win, and they do it good. And I do think Vrabel is a good head coach. Now if he's calling the defense, that's a different story. But dude, if Tannehill starts those first 4 games, they might win the division last year. They were 1 game behind us, dude.
I don't believe in
you
the
give
hype
them 4 games to win 1, they tie us.
Look at who he beat, though. When did he come in? He came in against was it the Bills? Let me double check. I'm double checking right now, but no, he didn't come in against the Bills. He came in. Yeah, we did too, though. I mean,
yeah, but
he came in against the. We weren't really supposed to talk about the Titans, but all right. So he came in against the Chargers. First start, he lost. Then you beat the Buccaneers. Okay, whoop-de-doo. You get smacked by the Panthers by 10 points. You beat the Chiefs 35-32. You absolutely smashed the Jaguars. You smashed the Colts. You smashed the Raiders. You lose to the Houston Texans. You lose to the Saints. And then you beat us when we were our Week 17. I'm not buying the hype, dude, because your only good win in the regular season was against the Chiefs. I mean, we had one too. Now, the only game I give them credit for was that Baltimore Ravens game. That's the only game I give them credit for. That was an absolutely phenomenal game. But we have Titans fans thinking they have the best trio in the NFL. We've seen them comparing Tannehill to Deshaun Watson. We've seen them comparing Tannehill to Andrew Luck. No, sir, I'm not buying this. They have one weapon and one weapon only, and that is Derrick Henry.
AJ Brown was.
Yeah, don't give me that. Do you know what Garyon Conley and Bradley Roby did against AJ Brown? It was a very tough day for AJ Brown.
Brown eat us up in that. I mean, was it the first game? The first game he was catching everything.
No, he wasn't. He had 1 touchdown, and that was because we gave Tannehill like 8 seconds to throw. I don't believe in them whatsoever.
Maybe okay. I haven't seen anything like you're saying right there. I haven't seen anybody compare Tannehill to Deshaun. But look, I mean, you can say
drinking that Kool-Aid, man.
You can say Henry, was the best player on the team, maybe most valuable last year. But if he was really if Henry was the only thing that mattered, Mariota would have still been starting on that team, and they would have been just as successful. They obviously upgraded at quarterback, so.
I mean, it's an upgrade, but to the point where they're thinking these guys are going to be special.
That's
Don't
their
see it at all.
That's their fans.
No, I
But
mean, but like, you see the media do it too. I mean, it's been like this for the past couple years. You know, the Houston Texans are going to be absolutely garbage, not going to do good. Next thing you know, we're in the division, we're in the conversation in deep playoff runs. You know, this is just another one of the year where they pick the other teams over us just because there's no reason to. I mean, I know the reason is because they don't like Bill O'Brien. What do you think about Dabo Swinney? Dabo Swinney is not leaving Clemson for a very long time.
yeah, I don't have anything to touch
Yeah.
on.
What is up, Sam? We have some beefing going on in the chat. Grenard Grenard Scarlett's replacement. Absolutely agree. Louis, what up? Just tuning in, Ruben. What are we talking about? We were talking about one of the most overrated teams. Did you say yours? Because I'm sorry.
I started talking about the Titans. Most overrated team.
The Ravens.
They still have. I mean,
Nah, I'm just kidding.
yeah.
Ravens going to be good.
Give me a second to think on it. Go on to the next question.
Shannon, how much was your AB shirt? I got that actually from a sponsor. If you want to go on Facebook and check out Zoe's Custom T-shirts and Crafts, you could get them there or hit them up on Twitter, or just hit me up on Twitter and we get you some good shirts. They have this slogan that says, "Why pay 35, 37 when you can play only 6?" According to some people, Tannehill has, passer rating. Okay, passer rating don't mean nothing to me, dude.
Yeah, I'm on the same boat. Passer rating, it's kind of iffy.
I love blue and I love blue Kool-Aid. Okay. The media is hella biased and also hates Houston. Absolutely, they hate the Rockets, the Astros. They definitely hate the Astros. Griddian said, "What, bro? What is up?" Don said, "The Bucks."
That's Dude, defense was legit.
The defense is legit. Was very good. Shaq Barrett, I think he led the league in sacks.
That's not going to be throwing 30 interceptions. Like, I don't know. You have a good point. They might be, but Brady's the best to ever play the game. I mean, he's an upgrade.
But do you still trust his arm, though?
Dude, even if he's 80% of Brady, I mean, his mind alone is an upgrade over Jameis Winston. He's a 6-time Super Bowl champ.
Because the thing we know about quarterbacks and their noodle arms, they're going to start overthrowing people. But I don't know how you're going to overthrow Mike Evans, Chris Godwin. A lot of people are saying the Bucks. We have another Bucks. Another overrated team, man. Man, I mean, they're saying the Cardinals are going to make it to the Super Bowl. But
not yet. I mean, they need to build more around that team. I don't think they're going to be some 2-14 team like some fans seem to think, but they especially with that division, but they have a chance to make playoffs this year.
Let's go with the Browns.
See, the thing is, I think Baker's going to have a comeback year, man.
I told you I'm blocked by Baker Mayfield.
Detriment to that team last year, dude. Who was their coach last year?
Oh no!
God, he was awful, man. Like even worse.
They've all been awful. I mean,
that's true.
They've sucked since before I was born. I mean,
ownership. Like I've said before, if ownership sucks, it's going to trickle down into management, and then it's going to trickle down into coaching, and that's what it's been for the Browns, man. Their ownership has sucked. Same with the Bengals.
So where would you rank the Houston Texans ownership?
Not very high,
but we're able to win.
I mean, win at a rate of getting kicked out of the second round.
Do you think Trevor Lawrence has a chance of being better than Deshaun Watson? Who knows? Me personally, I don't think so. I think Deshaun Watson is special. I think the things that Deshaun Watson does, it defies logic. When you get kicked in the eye, still find a way to stay on your feet and then throw a touchdown. Not a lot of quarterbacks can do that. There are very good quarterbacks, don't get me wrong. Trevor Lawrence looking like he's going to be an absolute beast. But there's a different level that other quarterbacks are on, like a Patrick Mahomes, like a Deshaun Watson, like a Lamar Jackson. Russell Wilson as well. We've seen Russell Wilson do amazing things. Some people are just built different. Some people are just have that it factor in them, and that is what Deshaun Watson has. Any thoughts, Cody?
Okay, so sorry, I got something on my phone. So you're saying Trevor Lawrence depends on where he ends up. Honestly, I don't know. I've watched a little bit of Trevor Lawrence. I haven't watched a whole lot. I don't watch that conference that often, so it depends. We've seen guys do stuff in college and then not do anything in the NFL. Vince Young, I mean Matt Leinart, didn't he win a Heisman?
Oh yeah, he did.
Yeah, so I don't know. It's tough to tell from that
You
transition.
know who's getting on a lot of hype too? That quarterback from the D2 school that Carson Wentz came from.
North Dakota State.
Yeah, he's getting a bunch of hype, man.
I think. I have
A
Cody. Cody
bunch of
told me a
hype.
little bit
A
about that.
bunch of hype. Here's a question. Bob is going to be in Houston for a long time. He's winning a Super Bowl with Deshaun Watson. Oh, that's one. Oh, man. That's one. uh, who knows?
Classic Juan.
The 49ers maybe as an overrated team.
No, dude, I'm very excited for that team, dude. They got two of my favorite players in the first round, Brandon Ayuk and the South Carolina kid, the defensive tackle. You know who I'm
Bucks
talking
are,
about?
yeah. Oh, yeah. Bucks are not overrated. They are stacked. I mean, it's just going to come down to coaching. And when you have Bruce Arians, I don't know how you get that wrong. Now, here might be a good team that's going to be that's overrated. Denver Broncos. People are drinking that Drew Lock Kool-Aid, man. I mean, I think he only lost one game as a starter, though. So we'll see.
Dude. Me and Cody were talking about this at work today. So what? Let me ask you this: AB, was known for his route running. Would you agree with me here that route running, as long as you are a good route runner or a great route runner and have decent enough hands, you can be a good receiver, right?
I mean, look at Larry Fitzgerald. He lost his speed years ago, and he still managed to get to 1,000 yards.
So you already have Cortland Sutton. You get the best route runner in the draft in Jerry Jeudy, and then you get the discount Henry Ruggs and KJ Hamler plus Noah Fant, and you have that running back tandem. Now the offensive line is a different thing, but Broncos, dude, fantasy. I'm looking at them for fantasy a lot this season.
I'm looking at Deshaun Watson for fantasy. The Broncos are going to be underrated. Not a lot of people are very high on the Broncos. Gerardo Brands, I think, will surprise us. Cody said so. I don't think so. Have you gotten blocked by Tyrann Mathieu? I've tried. But one thing on me on Twitter, I don't like to use a lot of cuss words. I don't like to, just talk about your family. I just say you suck, and hopefully he blocks from there. I'm going to try again. Maybe I got to step it up. Freddie Kitchens was the coach.
Freddie Kitchens, yes, there we go.
Except safety position. What do y'all think about the Texans defense? I think even the secondary alone is the most talented we've had in a while. I like Garyon Conley. I like Bradley Roby. We are expecting Lonnie Johnson to have a huge jump. Justin Reed, we all expect to be a very good safety in the NFL.
I agree. The secondary, man, I think it might be the best unit we have. When was the last time we could have said that?
When it was J. Joe, Glover Quinn, Daniel Manning, and Kareem Jackson. Yeah. Daniel Manning, man. That boy was a beast.
But, dude, pass rush still scares me, and then the coverage from the linebackers still scares me, and we didn't really do much to upgrade it. And like I keep saying, Ross Blacklock could be great. He's not going to be DJ Reader this season.
Sam Bullock said Baker's a crybaby. I'm not going to say the B word because I'll get in trouble by my mom, but I agree. How do you think David Johnson would do this year? I'm going to let you take this, Cody, because...
Dude, I didn't want to trade for him before free agency started. When I saw we traded for him, I was mad. And then when I saw we traded DeAndre Hopkins for him, I got even more mad, He looks like he's lost a step. He looks like he's not that interested. At least he did last year in Arizona. I mean, Chase Edmonds almost beat him out rushing yard-wise and only started like 4 games, or 3 games. And then you get Kenyon Drake, who blows with the same line. Let's not forget, this is not any different than what David Johnson had last year. Kenyon Drake came in and blew him out of the water, rushing-wise. Kyler Murray outrushed him, and you're a running back. It's just he looks like he's lost a step. The offensive line maybe help him. Maybe his system change might help, but it's just running backs don't last long in general, and that he might be one of those cases.
Well, how do you tie in the fact that they pretty much gave up on him, and maybe he even gave up on himself?
Yeah, that's the thing, man. I don't know because there's some plays where he looks like he's just jogging out there, like running side to side, not north and south, and it's just they gave up on him for a reason. They traded him for a reason, So I'm just not that high on him. We'll see. He's still a great pass catcher, I'll give him that. He's probably do some stuff in the pass catching game, but you need a running back to run.
Can you still see me?
Yeah, I can still see you.
Bad. I was just sending a message real quick. I think the Texas ownership is slightly better than the Lions, Browns, Jets, Redskins, Jaguars. Well, here's the thing. This is the first time we've seen Cal as the owner. And a lot of people are like, well, is Cal really invested into this Houston Texans team? So we'll see. That's a question that's going to get answered.
One thing with me with Cal is why he hasn't said anything to media at all. Like, I'm not asking him to be Jerry Jones, but I don't want you to be on the opposite end either. I want you to say something.
Cody, we have a guest on the channel. There he is. There he is. The pictures are going to clear up. Mr. Patrick Storm. How's it going?
You there?
Yeah, hold on.
Okay.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. We were just talking about, the Texans organization, how this is Cal's pretty much first year with the Texans. So, we're trying to see what we're going to expect out of him. Let's go on.
Me?
So, yeah.
I didn't hear you. You have to repeat it. I'm sorry.
Oh, so we were just talking about where the Houston Texans leadership and organization lies, and how Cal is doing or will do as he continues to be the CEO, the leader of the Houston Texans.
It's just going to be kind of the same thing this year, at least, of how things have been. I don't know what's going on in the background. Hold on.
It's okay. Fire Bob, stop with the hate, man. Yeah.
Hey, click on the comments.
Which comments?
Whatever you want. I can't see them. I'm not looking at my phone.
Quentin Dims, Daniel Manning, J. Joe, D'Amico, Cuz, Borrow and Reed, Mario. Can't roll. Shouldn't I put that? Darren, nothing. We're just talking football, man. What Texans rookie is having the most impact this season, I say, is going to be Blacklock because he's going to get the most play time out of them all.
Exactly.
Yes, Patrick Storm is going to be coming back. Here's a question that Cody's going to like. Do you think we're going to get Colin Kaepernick? I don't think so.
No.
No.
Oh, Patrick just said it.
No.
Yeah.
There's no need.
It doesn't make any sense, honestly.
Yeah.
So if you guys don't know who Patrick Storm is, Patrick Storm has, he breaks a lot of news for the Houston Texans. Talk about the Houston Texans. He is a part of the Texans Unfiltered team. Y'all make sure to go check him out. They're doing great things there with Texans Thoughts, all those guys. You can find them Twitter at the Patrick Storm. So, Mr. Storm, first of all, welcome. How was your vacation?
It was good. It was nice to get away, decompress, spend some time with the family. So
Of course. You said it yourself that you are recharged, and hey, we're getting a recharged Patrick Storm. So the one thing we wanted to talk about is that I'm not sure if you guys saw on YouTube when Deshaun Watson was with Carmelo Anthony, and they were talking about how he as a quarterback is going to take a step ahead and try to deal with it for the Houston Texans. So Pat, I'm not sure if you heard about it, but what do you think about him saying that he expects Cal McNair to speak about what's going on as soon as they get into meetings?
I think it's important. I think it's very important that, Cal has kind of already made his presence or his stance known in a little bit with how he's done the sit downs with himself, with Janice, with his wife. They sat down with Travis Johnson. They've sat, and talked about some things. I think it's really important as him being the future owner that these guys got to know where he stands on things. And, some people are saying, well, how come he hasn't already made the time to meet with Deshaun? And Deshaun is already a very busy person. He's out in Arizona training. You've seen David Johnson's out there. Brandon Cooks is out there. A couple of the other guys are going to possibly end up out there. He just traveled recently with his girlfriend. Deshaun's got a lot of things going on. I think if Deshaun really pushed for it, they could have absolutely already had a meeting. But it's going to be very important once they do get into the building as a group that they can sit down and talk about these things. And it's not going to be, Cal just kind of, checking the boxes type of thing. Cal is not his dad.
Yeah.
That's one thing that's always been very obvious with talking to a lot of the players. They're two totally different people. They have the same goal in mind, and that's obviously to bring a Lombardi to Houston. But I think Cal has a better grasp on what it takes to make a team happy locker room wise. Cal played football. Cal played at UT. So Cal has that mentality and the know-it-all ability to grasp what it's going to take to make those guys happy. So I think it's very important. I think it's very awesome that Deshaun has taken that lead to say, what are we doing? What are you guys doing? How do you guys feel about this stuff? Because it's very important to Deshaun, and it's very important to a lot of those guys in that locker room, as we saw how many of them out there marching. We saw Jacob Martin out there with them, Peter Kalambai, and a couple others. And then we saw Justin Reed and a few others attend the funeral for George Floyd. So it's obviously very important to a lot of people in that locker room. And I think Deshaun stepping up and making it known that he wants to know where they are as an organization as a whole, it's very important.
And, that's very good to hear because, a lot of people have the assumption that Cal doesn't really care or is not as much as invested as he needs to be or should be. But, hearing that, it just excites me. Cody, how do you feel about, Deshaun Watson, kind of holding the Houston Texans accountable for the things going on in this world?
Yeah, so this is in reference to the video, right? Because I haven't actually watched it. I haven't had time where it's been busting me up. But holding them accountable is great. You want to see that from your leader, your quarterback, the guy who, the player who runs the team, essentially. It's great to see. I don't have a whole lot to elaborate on it, but it is cool to see him, start being more vocal.
Absolutely. And Patrick, we have to ask you this question because it's already asked about 6 or 7 times. Patrick, is AB coming to the Houston Texans?
I don't know. No. I literally was just talking to somebody earlier that's very, I don't know. He's a very good friend of Antonio Brown. And this is exactly the message I got. I sent him a text on Sunday. Said, I need updates. And then he just messaged me back at 8:59. He said, as soon as he tells me something, I got you. So I'm in the dark as much as you guys. And I think a lot of it right now, Antonio Brown is doing a very good job of self-promoting himself.
Agree.
To show teams that he's ready to play football. I know he's older. I know he's 31, about to be 32 years old, probably, right?
Yeah, I think
this month, actually. I think his birthday is this month. But it doesn't look like he's lost a step. His routes are still very crisp. The talent's there. It's this.
Yeah.
It's got to be there. So we'll see.
So, sticking with Antonio Brown, if the Houston Texans manage to get him, first thing I'm going to do is give you a shirt, because I'm not sure if you guys seen the shirt I was rocking yesterday. It looks legit. But what does he bring to the Houston Texans offense? What brand new, like Tim Kelly and Deshaun Watson? Just
that one more threat that Deshaun's already got. And I've talked about it kind of in length on some other, platforms that they've done a really good job of building the offense around strengths for Deshaun, right? And they've given him guys that excel in those areas that Deshaun is strong in. The middle of the field, they gave him Randall Cobb. Deep ball, he's already got Will Fuller, but they gave him Brandon Cooks now. Red zone, he's got Darren Fells in the tight end group. guys out of the backfield, Duke Johnson and now David Johnson. So if you give him one more guy that is very crisp in his routes and can get to the outside, like Antonio Brown is very good at, that's just one more option for him. Because Deshaun is very good on outside the numbers. So he's good all over the field. His strength is the center, right? His strength is over the middle of the field. But if they can give him that one more weapon to go on the outside, then why not?
Cody, I'm gonna let you answer.
Yeah, so we talked about it a little bit earlier too. Receivers who are elite route runners and can have good hands, you don't have to be the most athletic person on the field. That's what Antonio Brown is, an elite route runner. And like Patrick was just saying, that it still looks like he has it. He only missed 1 year. I mean, he played 2 years ago, right? So elite route running with those guys on the outside with the speed and then Cobb over the middle, like you were saying, it would be at that point. It already might be too much now. At that point, it's way too much.
So the question that everybody has is are you going to have too much weapons? Because there's only one football. My thing is, I don't, give me as much as you can. But Patrick, do you see a situation where, we just have too many people on the offensive side of the ball?
No, you can never have enough weapons for Deshaun to throw the ball to. The entire idea is to build an offense to where he can be successful. And the more options you give him to be able to disperse the ball and comfortably, and people that he trusts, then it's not a bad thing. It's never a bad thing. And to speak on that is, you've got to have people that are unselfish.
Absolutely.
And I'm not saying anybody recently has been selfish, but you've got to have guys that are not going to come in here and say, "I want 1,500 yards a season," or else.
Yeah,
you got to have guys that are okay with getting 1,100 yards every year. But if you have two of those guys, look at Dallas. Dallas had two 1,000-yard receivers, and they had Randall Cobb had an 850 plus. Yeah, Cobb didn't have touchdowns, but 850 yards out of the slot with two other 1,000-yard receivers plus Zeke, that's a pretty potent offense. And if you can replicate that in Houston with Deshaun,
it's all
you're going to have some success.
Also we have this question from Mr. Arodo Hernandez. Should we call for Bill O'Brien's head if they miss the playoffs? I'm going to let you start, Cody.
I mean, for me, yeah, I thought we should. I wanted him to get fired after last season. So, for me, I don't really care for O'Brien. So yes, is the easy answer for me. How about y'all?
Let Patrick go.
Yeah, I think it's time. I mean, so I get a lot of heat for this, but I like some of the things that Bill has done. I don't like everything Bill has done, and I'm very vocal about that. I don't think he should have been made full-time general manager on top of being head coach. But I like the fact that, I'm not going to say he forced Romeo out, but he made that change to make Anthony Weaver the defensive coordinator. He's made the change to where Tim Kelly was the offensive coordinator last year and now is going to be a full-on offensive coordinator this year and going to call the plays. I like some of the trades he's made, getting Jacob Martin, getting Garyon Conley, Duke Johnson. I like the idea of David Johnson being here. I don't like what we had to give up to get it, but I think he's done some things well, but there's a lot of things that I don't like. And I think that hopefully with Tim Kelly being a full-time, true-on offensive coordinator, that's one less thing that he has to worry about, and it'll help him manage the clock, manage his timeouts, and manage those crucial situations where if he's got to call, a fake punt, he knows the right situation. He has that play up his sleeve, and he can say, "Hey, Tim, call this," or "Hey, Tim, we should probably try to do this," to where he doesn't have a million things going through his head, and he can focus on what's important.
For me, I just don't want to give him the Jason Garrett, Marvin Lewis tenure. Like, I don't want to see 10 years of the same thing, 17 years of the same thing over and over, which kind of gotten 6 years of that at this point. So it's just, how much longer do we need to see it? Sorry, got ambulance going on behind me.
No, I thought somebody was screaming, dude.
No, yeah, I agree. I think it's got to be a short leash. And I think that with having, the moves that he's making, it shows that he knows that it's getting close for him.
So, Ruben, do you mind if I talk about something before you go to the next question? Because I wanted to get both y'all's opinion. So, have y'all looked at how Kansas City structured Patrick Mahomes' contract?
Yeah.
Not in depth, but kind of.
So, it's interesting to me. They've structured it very, very oddly, to say the least. So, the first year, 2022, when it kicks in, he's getting $31 million, right? And then the year after, it's $38 million. And then the year after that, I think it hits 41. So, just in terms of Watson, I guess all the guys that need contract, Watson, Dak, maybe Lamar. If Watson wants a 3-year contract, so essentially 2 years, and then 2022, that 3-year kicks in.
Mm-hmm.
If we're looking about $40 million, how do we justify that when you got a guy like Patrick Mahomes only making 31 and then 38, and we're paying Watson? Watson might be the exception. Don't get me wrong. But when you're paying Watson 40 to 42-ish, say that, and you're paying Mahomes 31 and 38, when Mahomes has a league MVP and a Super Bowl championship under his belt, how do we kind of justify? I hope that makes sense. The questioning makes sense.
Yeah. I mean, I'm going to just take it for I think the way you justify it is this is the first time with the Houston Texans have ever had a franchise quarterback. A franchise quarterback who we expect to take the next level to be an MVP caliber player. I've said it before. He's going to win the MVP. You're just going to have to pony up for a type of player that Deshaun Watson is.
Okay. I actually completely agree with that because we never had it.
Yeah.
Filtered on it a little bit, but not really. But Pat, what about you? What do you think?
So when you look at it, I think Mahomes' average per year comes in at like 39.5.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, that's truly what matters. But another thing that, if you guys follow Texans Cap on Twitter, Troy does a very good job of preaching cash. Cash is what truly matters at the end of the day, right? You can have this average per year of what he's making, but you've got to look at signing bonuses, roster bonuses, and a lot of what is on Pat's deal is these escalators that allow the guaranteed money to kick in after I think it's the 3rd or 4th year.
Yeah.
So it's a lot of the structure of the deal is very team friendly for the Chiefs, but it's also very friendly for Mahomes because it gives him a ton of leverage that in 4 or 5 years because let's face it, the contract's going to be out of date in 4 years.
Yep.
Easily, especially if he keeps on the pace that he's at right now. There's no way he sees all 10 years of this deal. Like it's impossible. Brett Favre couldn't spend all 10 years with the Packers. Pat Mahomes isn't getting 10 years with the Chiefs. Not saying he's going to be on a different team, but that deal will just be obsolete in 4 or 5 years. Okay.
Well, he makes $60 million in 2027.
But how much of that is a bonus?
I have to double check.
See, that's the thing. With the bonuses and like a signing bonus is spread out over 3 years, right? Against the team, against the salary cap. So if it's a $40 million signing bonus, they're only paying out $13 million a year of that as cash. So, he's going to get all, $40 million of that signing bonus, but against the cap, it's only $13 million. So it allows the team some flexibility. There's a lot that goes into it.
Yeah.
Bashan's going to get $40 million average per year.
Okay.
But at the end of the day, it's what cash is what truly matters.
Yeah. Okay.
But it's like Tunsil's deal. Tunsil signed his deal, and it was a 3-year, $66 million deal. But when you do the average per year, it's only 19 something because you've got him still this year. Then the 3 years kicks in, right? Yeah. But it's how much cash is there's 50 something million of it was guaranteed. So there's so much that goes into it. But Deshaun's going to get that average of $40 million a year, and it'll be worth every penny.
Oh, yeah, I definitely agree. I was just curious. That might be a bigger question for the Cowboys and Dak than us and Watson, but I was just curious what y'all's thoughts on that.
Speaking of GM, Louis says Patrick for GM. We're all here for it. We want to see the Patrick Storm come in. But before we get on, Harris Beard, hello. Hello, everybody. Please drop a W in the chat. We are here on a Friday, 34 deep, guys. Here's a question that I think is going to bring up a lot of, not a lot, it's a good one. y'all trust B.O.B. to let Kelly or Weaver have control the whole season, even when things aren't going good? I do not. Here's my take on it, and then we'll let you guys go. The first 7 games are absolutely rough. You know, Bill O'Brien does love to control everything in his, everything that he can. It's going to be tough if the Houston Texans offense starts off staggering. But, I mean, when you go against the Chiefs and the Ravens and the Steelers, it's going to be very hard. Do I see him? I hope not. I think he stays patient, and then we saw a little bit of his patience on draft night when, players were falling deep. Good players were falling deep into the late first round, and you were like, O'Brien, please don't, just wait. So we just want to see patience.
So who next?
No, Cody. Since
okay. So as far as Weaver goes, I mean, O'Brien's an offensive coach. He's going to let the defensive coaches do whatever. So Weaver will probably easily have, in my opinion, control over the defense for the whole season. It's Kelly that's a little bit interesting. It depends on how things are going. In my opinion, Patrick might have something more to say on that. It's just, if it's not going well, it's an easy excuse for O'Brien to take back over play calling, I would think. Especially if you start off slow. Like those first three games, if it ain't working, I don't see any reason why he wouldn't take it back over.
Because of the chemistry with Deshaun.
Yeah.
That's the only thing.
Mm-hmm.
Like, he's at the point now where Tim Kelly and Deshaun get along great. If you talk to Deshaun, and Deshaun has said it multiple times, he attributes a lot of the things that he's learned already in the NFL to Tim Kelly. So I think that will be the deciding factor if things were to start off slow, is Deshaun saying, look, it's not, Deshaun is going to have enough pull with things that happen here in the very near future because of who he is and what he means to this team. So I don't think that even with a slow start that Bill would take over the play calling. Now, should it just be an absolute disaster? Probably, but any coach would.
Yeah.
And I think it would be talked about in a bad light just because of the history Bill has with being this control freak. But if things were to get really, really, really bad, then I could see it. But sorry.
It's definitely okay. Patrick, Carlos said, tell Patrick I'm beating him in Charles League. Not sure what that is. Not sure if he's throwing a shot. But
I'm in a Madden league with Charles Omenihu, and I am absolutely terrible at Madden. I will admit it. I'm awful at Madden. Okay.
This Madden sucks.
I don't know what team Carlos has, but I've lost both games now. I had the Bucs, and I blame a lot of it on Tom Brady.
Oh man, Cameron, you're not late at all, bro. We are almost an hour in. Patrick just joined us. But going back to this team, I think this team has a chance to be something special. I think with all the narratives that are going against us, that Bill O'Brien doesn't know what he's doing, that that the offense is not going to be great since the departure of DeAndre Hopkins. And then people still think our offensive line is absolutely horrible.
Dude, Colin Cowherd, oh my.
Yeah,
dude.
Yes, that's exactly what I'm talking about.
Now. I don't think he looks at anything. He just says stuff.
And that's my main thing, is that's why I think the Houston Texans are going to prove a lot of people wrong, because of they don't really know what goes down here. And super excited to be watching this. Speaking of Charles Omenihu, Patrick, have you seen how this dude's been grinding lately?
Yeah.
I mean,
he's been working out with DeMarcus Ware. That makes me excited.
Yeah, because our whole thing is we need pass rush, and let me find out Charles Omenihu, a late round pick, develops into something like a DeMarcus Ware.
Well, but look at what they've done with defensive linemen, right? You brought in Brandon Dunn recently as a free agent, who's had a decent impact. You drafted DJ Reader in the 5th round, and you just turned him into the highest paid nose tackle in the history of the NFL. And I'm still mad about that. I'm still mad that DJ's not here.
Dude,
yeah, that's your boy.
That's
my boy. DJ's my boy, and I talk to DJ all the time. I was just talking to him today.
Yeah.
But that's one of the things. You've got Anthony Weaver was never this all-star, Pro Bowl, all-pro player. But a lot of times you get these guys that were average players and they become coaches and they help find your niche on what works for you and turns you into a better player. And I think that's going to be a lot of what we're going to see with Weaver is having a big impact on some of these younger guys. And so that makes me really excited to see what Charles is going to turn into.
I am like I said, I'm very excited for this defense. I'm more excited about Garyon Conley. When he came to the Houston Texans, he almost triples his pass breakups. We switched him to man, and he was just playing lights out, phenomenal. 3 pass breakups in the wild card game against the Buffalo Bills. How do you see, this defense going, showing out, Mr. Patrick?
Defense? Ooh.
Yes.
Saying showing out? I mean,
not showing out, but how do you think they'll they will be?
They're going to have. I think absolutely they take a step forward compared to where they were last year. Pass rush was non-existent, and now you have the potential to have a healthy J.J. Watt, Ross Blacklock, Jonathan Grenard, another year of Jacob Martin in the system, Garyon Conley in the system for another year, Bradley Roby in the system for another year, and I think the Murray pickup, the Murray signing to me, I know we overpaid, but I have this feeling that he's just going to be something that a lot of fans are sleeping on. I'm not saying he's going to go out there and put up, all pro numbers, but I think that he's going to kind of be what they were looking for when they signed Gibson and when they signed Adai, and be somebody that they can put out there with Justin and put out a pretty, some good production. So I like the defense. I don't know if they're going to be, blowing us off blowing things off the charts, but I think they're going to be definitely better than last year.
Cody, what do you think?
So for me, it's tough. We're expecting a lot of internal growth, right? We didn't really change much on the defense. I'm sorry, I'm losing. Player-wise, we didn't really change a whole lot. You lose Reader, you get Blacklock, which Blacklock I expect to be, he can be great, but he won't have the impact of a Reader this season. I know they don't technically play the same position, but still. It's just, you got to hope Watt's healthy, because without him, pass rush goes back to nothing. I don't really care for that we paid Whitney. I would have rather paid Reader and let Whitney walk, in my opinion. But that's what it is. And then, like we said a little bit earlier, Ruben, the secondary definitely might be the best position group on defense for us this year. And you got the linebackers, but they still need to be better in coverage. So it's just tough for me to see, especially with a rookie coordinator. He's going to have his lumps. So maybe better. It could be worse as well. You just got to hope the internal growth hits for all these players like Lonnie, like Charles, Jacob Martin, all those guys. So we'll see. I'm not too high on them, but I'm not expecting them to be like top 10 either. No, I don't think anybody should be.
So I think here's a very good question, and Cody, I'll let you answer it first. I think O'Brien would thrive as the John Harbaugh type of role. Let your coordinators call everything. What do you think about that?
So I've said for a while now, I think O'Brien needs to delegate duties, and like Patrick said earlier, he does too much, and then that affects like his clock management in the game and stuff like that, So allowing Kelly to call plays, he already let the defensive coordinators handle the defense before this, so that shouldn't change. Weaver and Crennel should handle the defensive stuff. But letting Tim Kelly call plays, and then I think we saw a little bit last year too when Tim Kelly was actually, doing the game plans and stuff, that he was the offensive coordinator, but he just didn't call plays. We saw a little bit, from a little bit of O'Brien delegating those opportunities. So we'll see. Ultimately, the way O'Brien runs this team, I think he would be a great college head coach, in my opinion. I don't think he's an NFL head coach or one you need to win a Super Bowl at this point, but that's my opinion.
Mr. Patrick.
So I think he'll be a lot better off like Cody said, delegating the responsibilities to everybody else. I feel like he just puts too much on his own plate, and that just affects the whole process throughout the game. Now, obviously, he's still going to have input on the offense. The game plan, we've heard this time and time again that he would come in on a Friday or a Saturday and change the game plan. Yet, never once has a player spoken out and saying that he left us unprepared. Yeah. They've always said that they were prepared. So there's obviously something there, and they understand what the game plan is. I think part of it is he doesn't execute the game plan the way he's told them, because I think he gets lost. Everything gets lost in translation during the game, and he gets flustered and he overthinks things. And I think having Tim Kelly do the play calling with the game plan will help things a lot down the road.
Absolutely. This is a very good question. It's from Maxo713. How does Pat feel about the Texans not being able to reach the AAC championship when the whole division has? Us not making the playoffs this season would definitely get him the boot, ?
Yeah, it sucks. It really sucks. Like, you can look at the Colts and look what they've done. Obviously, they've been a decently successful franchise, even still when Peyton's gone. The Jags is kind of like a fluke thing, though, because they had that one great year, and now all of a sudden they're back to where the normal Jags are. And the Titans, they showed out last year. They beat the Ravens in the playoffs. Derrick Henry had the rushing title. Ryan Tannehill came in and looked like, his former self. So I think that was, let's see if they can replicate that again this year and they don't turn into the Jags. Yeah. But yeah, it definitely sucks. You keep getting into the playoffs and, okay, cool. We've got 4, AFC South championships and 3 playoff wins. One's against Connor Cook. One's against
Josh Allen.
Who gave that game away.
You're not beating anybody relevant, right? You're not beating anybody that's, you're not beating Patrick Mahomes. You're not beating Lamar Jackson. You're not beating Ryan Tannehill. Ryan Tannehill is beating Lamar Jackson. So it's one of those things, like, they've got to get over that hump, or we're just going to be sitting here spinning our wheels for years.
Yeah, and it looks like that's where we're going. I think here's a very good question. First of all, DJ Meaden, what up, bro? Who has the bigger impact, Weaver or Kelly? That's a good one. To me, it's gonna have to be. I think it's gonna be Tim Kelly. I think when you have Deshaun Watson, magic is gonna happen. I think, like I said, I think this offense has a chance to be a top 10. If we add AB, maybe top 5. Cody, who do you think is going to have the bigger impact?
See, I would think it almost have to be Weaver, because just like you said, the offense has Deshaun Watson. You're going to have him be amazing, no matter what at that point. So, I don't know. Maybe not the bigger impact. What I'm expecting more from would be Weaver, I guess, is the way to word it. I just expect the scheming to be different, getting more blitzes, getting stuff like that. I think you don't have enough talent on the defense to where, those guys are just showing out no matter who's there. Like, you're the Denver Broncos in 2015. You don't have that talented of players on defense. You have some good players, but nothing like crazy like a Von Miller, stuff like that. So for me, the scheming is what's going to be most important on defense, and I think that's where Weaver comes in with the impact.
Yeah, I got to agree, because, with having Watson, you've already got that edge with Watson. But with Weaver, you've got to build that defense back to where it was a few years ago, where they were a top 5 defense even without J.J. Watt. Mm-hmm. Right? That was huge. Yeah. It's been hugely successful and imperative to the success of this team. And if you don't have a successful defense, in today's NFL, teams are just going to run right all over you.
And we saw it. Here's a question: what's up with our special team corner? The last thing I heard is that he retired, and that somebody was replacing. I'm blanking on his name. I'm not sure if you guys know, but I think the special teams is something that's going to be much improved. We all see Fairbairn how at the beginning of the season he was kind of iffy, but once him and the punter got everything situated, he was lights out. Like how do you guys see the special teams playing out? I'm gonna start with Patrick.
So Tracy Smith is still the favorite to take over. They have not begun interviews yet, and part of the problem with that is obviously everything that everybody's dealing with right now with the pandemic. It's hard enough to get free agents to come in, and you can't even bring a free agent in to have a visit with right now and do a physical and stuff like that. So it makes it that much harder to hire a coach. And obviously they've got to abide by the Rooney Rule where you have to, interview 2 minority candidates that are either in the organization or outside the organization. But it's likely going to be Tracy Smith because they were kind of preparing for this, knowing that Brad Seeley was getting up there in age and been in the NFL for 30-something years. But the special teams became such an imperative, and we saw such a bigger focus on it with free agent signings and the draft. So I think it's going to be imperative that the chemistry kind of stays the same on with what they've been building on.
Do y'all remember who was the special teams coordinator before Seeley came in? The guy from the Patriots, right?
Larry Izzo.
Yes. So it obviously improved in terms of coverage, just tackling and stuff like that when Seeley came in. So we got to keep that up, like Patrick was saying. Being good in all 3 facets of the game makes you a good team. Like the Ravens, they've always been good at special teams, and they're essentially a good team year in year out with some bad seasons here and there. But you want that team to be good. I don't know if Carter even makes the team first of all, but are we looking at him to be the returner? The returner for kickoffs and punts is what I'm questioning the most, just because we can't have a guy be fumbling in the most crucial situations. He was a good returner. He did make some exciting plays, but you can't be fumbling. So is that what we're looking at still? Maybe John Reed, another option? Either of y'all have anything on that?
Yeah, I mean, you got to have a focus on that. And you've got Carter, who is willing to do it. John Reed better be willing to do it, or else he's going to be in hot water. Kiki, I don't know if we really trust Kiki to do it. But, you just got to – that's one area that they've lacked since Jacoby Jones has left, is finding somebody that can return the ball decently. Even if you're talking, just getting out to the 40. It didn't happen very often for this team last year. Even in recent memory, it hasn't happened very often since Jacoby left. And I think you just got to have somebody else that's got a little bit better vision when returning the ball.
Our last time we had a punt return touchdown was Keyshawn Martin. Shout out to Keyshawn Martin wherever you are at. Why'd you make that side?
Is he still with the Patriots?
I think he's out the league, man. Do you think everyone is sleeping on Johnson? I think talking about David Johnson, I think so too. I've told Cody about this many times that when a player feels wanted, when a player feels like a coach wants me to thrive on this team, that is exactly what I plan on doing. And if you see him, he's working out, whether it's with his family or he's working out himself on Instagram. I'm excited for, David Johnson because he's one of the best receiving running backs in the NFL. The question is how long can he stay on the field? Cody?
So we talked about a little bit about it earlier. I'm not too high on him. I think he's lost a step. I also think, in general, running back is the easiest position to fill in the NFL. I don't like spending a lot of capital on it. So I didn't want Johnson beforehand. I didn't want him, or I was kind of upset before I knew Hopkins was involved in the trade when we got him, just because he looks like he's lost a step, and I'm not too high on running backs. Like, look at the Super Bowl teams. Both running backs were undrafted free agents. It's easy to find. It's easy to fill. Hopefully he can come back. I would love to be proven wrong, but I'm skeptical on it.
Yeah, I don't think we're going to get 2016 David Johnson ever again. But I'd be really okay with a little bit better version of the 2018 David Johnson.
Oh,
he didn't break 1,000 yards, but the biggest thing was his receptions. He had 50 receptions. I think, and 22 of them were first downs. So I think that's the biggest thing is just production out of the backfield, not so much running the ball, but receiving the ball. And I think that's just going to be imperative. Do I think he's being slept on a little bit? I kind of got to disagree with Cody a little bit because I like what David Johnson brings to this offense. And I know you kind of already had that in Duke Johnson.
Yeah.
But I think David Johnson is a better version of Duke. And I know we gave up a lot to get him, but I think it'll be beneficial to Deshaun's success.
Yeah. So just like I said earlier before you got on, I do like his receiving abilities out of the backfield, obviously. He's still good at that. I mean, he was a receiver in college. But it's just at some point you have to be able to run effectively too. And if he can't do that, then we're kind of – I don't even know a phrase to use. It's just if he can't run effectively, it's not going to help us because I know Duke Johnson was averaging 4.9 a carry last year, but that's on limited snaps. You know, he's you use him limitedly for a reason because you don't want him getting hurt and he's a receiving back. That's what Lamar Miller was used like in Miami before he brought him and then we just started running him up the gut, you know, correctly. So it's just I want to see more of him as an actual running back. Like you said, 2018 form would be nice. I think he had 900 yards, so he was pretty close. But if it's last year's David Johnson, we're in for a ride.
Yeah,
I mean,
I agree.
I agree. I mean, you just hope that he plays into form. So, like, side note on that question, like, what do you think will make you feel good about David Johnson, the way he plays? Like, what are some like stats that you would want to see out of Mr. David Johnson? I'm saying you have to have at least more yards than Carlos Hyde, and just be a beast in receptions, like we know he can be.
If he gets 1,500 total yards, I'll be happy. I would love to see a 1,000-yard rusher, but I think 1,500 total yards receiving and rushing would be something nice to see. But how about you?
Yeah, it definitely got to eclipse 1,000 yards rushing, 500 yards reception or receiving, and it's got to be 10 to 12 touchdowns total. And they've got to use them enough to justify the trade because at the end of the day, you gave up a top receiver in the NFL for a second round to move up into the second round pick, from 57 to 40.
Yeah.
And a running back. So I think it's one of those things where you've got, at the end of the day, you've got to be able to justify that trade with the production. And if you can't do that on the field, then it was a waste and it makes it look that much worse.
Very beautiful child right there. Speaking of, hold on. If I could just say one thing about kids, just a funny little story. When I used to work at the YMCA, I would coach these little kids called Tiny Tots, right? And I would hear the little conversations with each other. And then this one kid, like he's like, my dad has a nice car. The girl looks at him. She goes, "Oh yeah, my dad has diabetes." I was like, "What?" Speaking of DeAndre Hopkins, I'm gonna let you start with this, Cody. Do you think it was the right time to move on from D Hop?
In my opinion, no. But I don't know what Bill O'Brien was thinking. Obviously he thought it was time, but. Patrick, question for you, because it's something I saw on Reddit a while back, and maybe you will know, maybe you won't. When Gain was here, I saw something that Bill O'Brien even tried to go to Gain at one point and talk about trading Hop.
So Hop's been kind of on the outs for a bit, right? And there was, you heard Hopkins say in the interview that he did with SI, saying that he knew if he requested, redoing his contract, that it would be the easiest way for him to get traded. Well, after last season, the season before when they lost the Colts in the playoffs,
okay,
Hopkins blew up in the locker room, and it's pretty well known that he was very unhappy with the direction of the team at that point. And I'm not going to go into too much of the details on it because
we know
that's locker room stuff, and that stays in the locker room. But he made his frustrations known. And rightfully so. I mean, he saw what happened to Andre, and he didn't want that same thing to happen to him. he felt like he had been putting, everything out there on the field, and he wasn't reaping the benefits, essentially. And so that was kind of when things started to go downhill. And him and Bill, on a professional level, respected each other. But when it came down to a personal level and like a friendship type of thing that you see with Bill and Deshaun, it wasn't there. And so, that's kind of, things just got worse and worse over the years. And so, yeah, DeAndre had kind of already been on his way out for a little while, unfortunately. And then, he goes into the season before last season, and that was when, everything, this all started after 2018.
Yep.
After the Colts game is when the snowball just began to enlarge tremendously, and there was no going back, unfortunately. So, yeah, it's been in the works for a while.
Okay. So then that was true. So essentially, it was mutually parting ways. It just, to a lot of us, it was kind of sudden,
just like this.
It was sudden, yeah. Nobody knew it was building up. Like, it was so funny because I was at work. And
so was I.
What's up?
I was like, I told Patrick,
I was at work, and then I saw a few days earlier a report that Hopkins could be traded. I was like, okay, that's nothing. I'm at work, and I'm digging a post hole, and then I see the David Johnson trade. My buddy goes, my co-host goes, who do you think that he traded? I said, we probably traded Hop. Just totally joking. No, totally joking. No idea. And 10 minutes later, it pops up on my phone. DeAndre Hopkins traded to the Arizona Cardinals for David Johnson. Dude, I lost my mind right there. It was just so sudden to most of us.
When Pat broke it, I was shocked.
See, I didn't even break it. So, all right. So that morning, I wake up and I see all these, these tweets from Michael Lombardi and who else was it? I think it was Florio, right? And I'm like, all right, here we go again. Every year, there's these talks of DeAndre Hopkins is made available in a trade. Every year, I know these things are going on behind the scenes, and it never really comes to light. Well, this year, for whatever reason, I see the tweets, and I start to respond back to them, and I was mad. I was, we're doing this again. Like, we're doing this again. And so I start tweeting them. And then, 20 minutes, she does not want to get down. 20 minutes after I send the last one, I get a text message and say, hey man, it's real. And I was like, no. And it was like, so they started breaking everything down to me and explaining what was going on. And so I just went dark. Like, I just wasn't saying anything. And then probably, 5 minutes before Schefter put it out was when, I got the final text that's saying, all right, he's gone and it's a done deal. Like, David Johnson's coming and Hop's gone. And I was just like, ah.
The one tweet I saw you put was that it's Hopkins, and I just dropped. I said, there's no way it's DeAndre. There's no way, because we were thinking we were going to get some picks to eat up his contract.
That's the thing. I'm getting as it's kind of unfolding. I got a text saying, all right, well, they're getting David Johnson and draft picks, and I was like,
yep.
What? What did we give up to get draft picks back? And then 2 minutes later, it was like, all right, DeAndre Hopkins is in it, and I was just like, oh.
37 people in the chat. Everybody, drop your scores prediction. We have Mr. Patrick Storm, Mr. Cody from JW Football Talk, and this is one of the benefits of knowing a Mr. Patrick Storm, because we're getting this inside information. For one, he don't have to tell us, so thank you for that. We have a very, very good question. Should we trade away Will? I'll let Cody go. Will Fuller. I'll let Cody go first.
I mean, it depends. It totally depends. I don't even know how to answer this, because obviously I want him on the team. If AB comes, maybe it's a different story. Maybe he's more expendable. because you've got 1 year left on contract, injury riddled history, all that type of stuff. But if we don't get AB and saying it's in a scenario you trade Will for Jamal Adams, then go for it. But other than that, you shouldn't trade him. That's just my opinion. I don't even know how else to phrase it. I just don't. Ultimately, in most scenarios, no. It just depends on the scenario.
I agree. Like it's got to depend on what you get back, because it has, at the end of the day, it has to be justified, right? And so that's one of those things where, yeah, they could trade him, and if they bring in Jamal Adams, cool. But at the end of the day, does that work out for the Texans, right? Like, are they able to, and likely not, secure Jamal long term? No, because they're going to have to pay Reed, they're going to have to pay Cunningham, you got to pay Watson. And I know I've seen some scenarios where the stuff will work out financially, but I think Will Fuller is just that one item right now that, even like the Hopkins thing, I'm over. Like, I'm done with it, and I can see the vision. Okay, but if you trade away Fuller, then what are you doing with the vision? You're breaking that idea apart. And so I don't see, and I'm going to be wrong now as I say this. They're probably going to trade him away now, but I just can't see them trading away Will Fuller.
So something else I'll mention real quick, because I saw the question earlier. I don't think we touched on it, Ruben, but Will Fuller might be the most. I'll say he probably is the most talented receiver we have on the roster right now. Ooh. You think you think it's Cooks?
Yeah,
you think it's Cooks?
I think here's the thing: Cooks, great hands, something that Will Fuller does not have. He's very great at running routes. The thing about Will Fuller is that we know when he's healthy, he can just take over a game. The problem is he can, and the also problem is he's very inconsistent with his hands. The game against the Falcons, 200 yards, 3 touchdowns. He follows that up with 3 drop touchdown passes. He was absolutely torching Tyrann Mathieu. I was tweeting at Tyrann Mathieu the whole day, trying to get blocked by him. Didn't work, unfortunately. But
don't mess with that.
I know he tries to send hitters at you, man. But the thing is if he stays healthy, then he got something. Derek, friends with Texas, welcome, John, welcome, guys. We are deep in here late on a Friday night. So what do you think about? So, like, Mr. Patrick, you say that you think that that Cooks is a better receiver.
I just think because of what we've seen from Brandon Cooks in his time in the league, that he's a better receiver because the best ability is availability.
Yeah. Now there's a difference between better and more talented. I mean, can we agree? Like I think ultimately Dak's been better to this point than Wentz, but I think Wentz is a far more talented quarterback than Dak.
They're both trash.
I think Dak is like severely disrespected.
Dak is?
Yeah.
I think. How so?
Because look what he did last season. You can't deny what Dak did last year.
I think Kellen Moore is a genius though too. I think scheming. Dude, that dude was known in college as one of the smartest people on campus.
True, but if that's the case, then even still, he's found what works best for Dak.
Yeah.
And that's a recipe for success.
I mean, but at the same time, when you needed him at the end of the season there, in one of the worst divisions in NFL history, he didn't show up.
My thing was Dak was able to beat the hell out of horrible teams. And when it came against good competition, he fell flat. Maybe that's due to coaching. But here's a very good question by Canyon Carlson. Who is going to be the best pass rusher, not including J.J. Watt?
Jacob Martin.
Yes, I was about to say, if you guys don't know, Texans thoughts, Jacob Martin is basically his, basically God to Jordan. Jacob Martin, we expect him to absolutely ball out. I think there is a stat that said if he played at least 70% of the snaps, he would have had 13 plus sacks. So I'm excited for him. I'm excited for Grenard as well. OMG, yada baby said, what's up? Here's a good question. If Fuller has a good season, what would a contract look like to keep him? I don't think the contract will be big due to his injuries that he has. He hasn't played a full 16 games since he's actually been in the NFL. But, Cody, if he plays a full season and balls out, like what kind of contract will you see him say?
Full season and balls out in a contract year. I think he would I don't know. I think he would still get number 2 wide receiver money. Maybe you're looking at like a Robbie Anderson deal.
Ooh, Robbie was my boy. I wanted Robbie so bad.
10 to 12 mil, maybe. It depends on what he does and if he balls out and plays a full season. But I can kind of see around that number.
Yeah, I'd say probably on the 9 to 10 range.
Okay,
for sure. And I think at the end of the day, there will be. And the Texans usually don't dabble in performance-based contracts, but I think he would be the exception just because of, his history. Mm-hmm. And so I'd say the 9 to 10 range with some, incentives built into it.
Definitely.
He looks jacked.
800 yards plus this many TDs plus play this many games,
right.
Stuff like that. A lot of kind of like what you see with pass rushers where, was it Lawrence last year who had to break so many sacks or whatever to get, like a $500,000 bonus or something like that. I think that's kind of what you would see with Fuller. So I don't think Troy's done a projection on Fuller just because of the uncertainty of it. But Texans Cap would be the one to really address that question because he's so knowledgeable when it comes to that stuff.
Yeah, so just so we clarify, people are still asking about AB. We do not know yet what's going to go on, but one thing's for sure that you need to follow Patrick Storm because he would definitely have something about that. The one thing I don't like about how you tweet Patrick is you tweet these GIFs, and I don't know what to make of them. I'm like, what is? I'm like,
you notice that I haven't been doing it?
The last GIF you posted was like, I need to sleep. And that was a crazy night. The whole
that was situation. Yeah, right. Like that was like I was because we were getting ready to go on vacation. Like we were getting ready to head out of town, and I was like, man, I'm tired and I'm ready to go to sleep, and we're getting ready to prepare for this trip, and so I'm like, all right, I'm gonna go to sleep. And then I think it was like 2 minutes later, Chad Johnson puts out the tweet of AB to the Texans with the prayer hands, and I was just like, like, I'm not going to sleep tonight. And a few minutes later, you get Deshaun quote tweeting it, and it's just like I start sending out a million text messages and emails and messages on social media to people, and it turned into a long night.
Here's the thing: I was supposed to go to sleep because I just had to go to bed early, and I see when Chad Johnson posted, I called Cody. I said, I don't care what you are doing.
You pulled me on the con.
Yeah, I was like, I don't care what you're doing. And we did it with two of the people. Like, we need to get on a video right now. It was shocking. It was shocking. And like I said, if you guys don't follow Patrick, man, you guys need to follow him because he be dropping some stuff. Even though he's a Boston Red Sox fan, we don't know why. He's from Boston. But
my parents are from Boston, and that's what I grew up watching the Red Sox, and so I like the Astros. Don't get me wrong, I like the Astros. I definitely will go to the games. I support them. I have Astros apparel, so it's not like I don't.
So how'd you become a Texans fan?
So growing up, I never really watched football until Elway's second Super Bowl.
Okay.
We went to a Super Bowl party, and I legitimately sat down and watched the game and fell in love with it. And so what was that, 98? And then, later that year, they're granted the franchise. Still didn't really, classify myself as a Houston fan at that point because there was no team. Mm-hmm. But then in 2002, it was just like, well, there's a Houston team now, so I might as well cheer for them. So I did, and the rest is history. It's grown into a passion.
No, man, you're a beast in that, man. Like I said, a couple months ago, if you would have told me I'm having Patrick Storm on the 713, I would have said, man, you're crazy. But here's a question. Hold on. First of all, I don't want AB. I want Hopkins back. Hopkins was as good as he does. Yeah, I'm over.
Is gone. He's never coming back. Got to let it go.
I think here's the thing. I think Antonio Brown has a chance to be, if not as good as DeAndre Hopkins, but has a chance to just be better. You know, people forget, guys, that AB was once compared like the last great receiver since Jerry Rice. Amazing route running, amazing hands, the toe tip, the toe tapping towards the corner. AB is special, and the only question is, it's not a problem of it's just, can he keep his head the right way?
That's the question at the end of the day. And so we'll touch on it a little bit. Bill O'Brien has talked to Antonio Brown recently.
Oh,
I don't know
how recent.
We talked about James and John were talking about the other night on the podcast. So I know it's out there, and it's not like I'm breaking this, but they have had conversation. And so Bill is trying to figure out where Antonio's head is at. Mm. Now, also, the team is waiting to see. They're waiting to hear from the league on what they're going to do. And then there's other stuff going on in the background too with the team and trying to figure out, if they are going to trade Will Fuller or if they are going to trade Kenny Stills. Where does Antonio Brown fit into that equation? So there's so many moving pieces right now that are going on with the AB thing that it's way too early. It's in the infantile stages right now, and it's not anything. At the end of the we go into if we do even have a preseason, which we're probably not gonna even have any preseason games. That it may all just die off and we're never going to hear about it again, and that's just probably how it's going to be, honestly.
And and then like people want it to happen now, guys. We are still in July. A lot of things are going to happen between now and then. Speaking of the preseason, there isn't going to be one. Are there going to be any like free agents that the Houston Texans will be looking at? I personally want Everson Griffin on the Houston Texans. People have talked about Snacks Harrison. Do you see any way any of those players come here?
I think Everson would probably be the likely option. I think Snacks has had too much of that. Am I still going to play stuff
vibes?
And I think that. When you're looking at building a team around veterans, you don't want that kind of a mentality. You don't want that guy that's second guessing, do I want to be here type of thing. And we've seen it a couple times where these guys have been contemplating retirement and they still end up signing with a team. And then 2 weeks before the season, they end up retiring, or 2 weeks into the season, they retire. And then you're
halftime.
Yeah. So, and the other guy that you could have had for the same amount of money that goes to a division rival and kills you. So there's so much going on right now, like with the pandemic and free agents, that it's hard to say, but I would have to lean towards Everson Griffin being the more likely option, in my opinion.
Now him I'm excited about because he brings the pass rush. He had 9 sacks last season, and he gets sacks in huge games. The game against the Saints, he was able to put Drew Brees on his back, and he's very good against the run. But he brings leadership, and when J.J. Watt went down last season, I feel like the leadership wasn't there on the defensive side of the ball. I could be wrong, but Everson Griffin will definitely bring back, and he's just a fun player to watch. And having J.J. Watt and Everson Griffin on the same defensive line, I know they're up there in age, but it's still going to be very scary.
So I guess this to me.
Yes.
Something I have on Everson Griffin, he's already 32, right? I think he'll be 33 before the season, like you're saying in age. And he did have 8 sacks. I have to look up, but I wonder how many of those were coverage sacks, because I know Ruben's seen the chart I have. I can send it to you again. He was on the lower end of winning his pass rushing snaps, on the 1v1. And it wasn't a whole bunch of double teams either, because you had Danielle Hunter on the other side. You can't really double team Griffin if you have that guy on the other side, plus Linval Joseph in the middle. So last year he wasn't the greatest at winning his pass rush snaps, and that secondary is so good last year that, you get coverage sacks. It's what Vic Beasley did in Atlanta. So, I don't know. It's just tough for me. It depends on how much. I'd like to bring him in. You can always upgrade the pass rush, So, it's just at this point, I don't know. I mean, I wonder how. I haven't seen anything on teams interested in Griffin. Anything else? Who's talking to him? Stuff like that. As far as Snacks goes, I've kind of thought that ship sailed as soon as we brought in Jernigan. I thought Jernigan was the backup plan to him. I don't think we go back to that. Like, I think if we wanted Snacks, because it was reported that we were in talks. I think Snacks shut that down.
Yeah, Creighton put it out and then Snacks shut it down real quick.
Yeah, exactly. So I think it's I think the Snack ship has sailed.
Houston Texans thought, thank you for the $2. Bring in Jabal Sheard. Cody, what do you think about Jabal Sheard?
He had a decent season in Indianapolis, if I remember correctly, last year across from Houston. He would be a guy that's on like a cheap deal, and he's up there in age as well. I think he would benefit more from a 4-3 though. And I know we run both, but I guess we don't technically know what Reaver is going to lean to. What we were going to lean to, but he's learned under Romeo Crennel and Rex Ryan, who are both 3-4 guys. So the logical thing would be a 3-4, and I think Jabal Shear would be effective in a 4-3. So I don't know. It depends. But again, at that point, he's almost a situational pass rusher, depending on how much you bring him in for.
Yeah, he would just be another Angelo Blackson or something like that. It's just there's not enough. He doesn't bring enough to be a feature guy. They would just be another role player that they would bring in.
And then somebody also said about Eric Reed. I think if it hasn't happened by now, then it probably won't. We know Justin would love to play with his brother. Eric Reed, 130 tackles, as a record in franchise history for the Panthers, 4 sacks. He was very good. Thing about him is like he's not that very good in coverage.
Yeah, he's definitely not. And I talked to somebody pretty close to him. I don't know, what was it, back in March or just before March, and that was obviously a dream of his is to play with his brother, and Justin's obviously said that, and it's been known that Justin would like to have him on the team, but I don't think the Texans are in a position to bring him in knowing what role he would have to play, and they know that in coverage it was pitiful last year. So regardless of the connection he would have with his brother, it just wouldn't be a fit.
Yeah, it's basically
very bad
at this point. Sub linebacker, which could maybe work, but I don't think he'd want to come in and be behind Eric Murray or just be in sub linebacker packages. So, I think that door's shut as well.
Here's a good question. If you could change one move in franchise history, what would it be? Mine was to draft Julius Pepper instead of Derek Carr. You don't think so?
Mine was to bring in Peyton Manning.
Ooh.
Dude, I mean, like they won 2 Super Bowls, and that team was essentially what we had. That Denver team in 2015 was essentially what we had. What was it, 2012 when he left the Colts, or the Colts released him? Is that what it was?
It was not 2012, 2011.
Yeah. Luck
so,
was in Stanford 07, 08, 09. And then he sat behind Peyton for a year.
No,
because they had the number one pick.
Yeah,
and they let him go that year. So 10.
Okay.
Man,
Peyton got hurt, and then they said, "Okay, we're not going to do this." No, I don't know, but whatever, right? Imagine Peyton Manning, with
Andre
and Foster, and we had a good line, we had a good defense, we had Kubiak, we had Wade Phillips. Like, I think we could have got a ring, dude. Honestly, if we brought in Manning. If we don't get it before his last year, though, because that last year was awful. I think he threw 9 touchdowns to 16 interceptions his last year in the games he played. So
yeah, he was with the Colts until 11.
Okay.
So yeah, it would have been 12. Would have been the first year here. The one move I would have to change is letting Glover Quinn walk to sign.
That's a good one.
I've always to this day I would. I was even talking about it with Nick Scurfield the other day. Who used to work for the Texans.
Yes.
And he did an interview with Glover, and I hate that idea. I hated the idea of bringing in Ed Reed. Ahmad Green would be the second closest move that I hate also.
It was very hard.
There's so many freaking moves what this team has made with guys that had so much potential Um, yeah, I got to go with Glover.
Somebody in the chat said draft Aaron Rodgers. Yeah, I mean, who wouldn't love
Yeah,
that?
but I mean, how many other teams pass on Aaron Rodgers?
Yeah. Here's a good one. And here's a guy who I've already talked about a lot from Ariel Torres. What do you guys think about the addition of or adding somebody like a Marcus Golden? Marcus Golden is somebody who I've really talked about because we've seen Marcus Golden go on streaks where he will get like 7 sacks in 7 games, with Arizona. I think he had like 8 sacks in a row. I would love the chance to add him. He had about 11 sacks last year with the New York Giants. Doesn't really help that much against the run, but pass rush is definitely there.
I think it's when you look at these things and everyone's looking at the one number of sacks.
Yeah.
Right. You got to look. There's so much more that these guys need to bring to the defensive line. There's a ton of value free agents still left out there that can fill the positions that they're looking for. But I think that it's got to be somebody that Weaver wants to bring in that fills the needs that he's looking for. So.
Yeah, and Marcus Golden, probably the same thing as Jabal Shear, just a situational guy. Like you said, Ribbon, he's not great in run.
Yeah, he's not that good against the run, but he could give you pass rush.
Yeah, it'd be situational. And then, just like Patrick said, I hate the argument for defensive linemen that sacks. There's more to being a defensive lineman than sacks. Getting sacks is great, but getting QB hits, getting pressures, being able to stuff the run, stuff like that is all a part of the game, so.
Speaking of players that Anthony Weaver would want to bring in, is there a chance the prodigal son, he's already shaking his head, Clowney coming back?
Done and gone, and Clowney will not come back as long as Bill O'Brien is here. From
is Bill O'Brien that bad?
Circle. I think it's just there's some resentment on how things went down. Clowney was very willing to play under the franchise tag that year. There were some other things that happened that we won't talk about, but it's one of those things that it's kind of like the Hopkins thing. The relationship is, and and I'm not even going to say that because I think Bill went to Clowney and said, "All right, where do you want to go?" Yeah. The trade with Seattle unfolded and came together at Jadeveon's house the night before it was official. Bill was at his house.
Wow.
And that's where everything got put together. So it's one of those things like they did right by him in some aspects, but they kind of did him wrong because he was willing to stay and play under the tag. And they could have afforded him under the tag. And it would have been a huge difference to have him on that team, and he knows it. And I know he hasn't lived up to the hype coming into the league, but that's one of the most gifted people you'll ever see out on a football field that doesn't even have to try to be good because he's just good. And so, there's no chance for Jadeveon Clowney to come back as long as Bill O'Brien's here.
Clowney was my dog, man. I know he didn't put up the sacks, but like you said, he was just a freak of nature. Somebody out there.
He still wrecked games regardless of looking at the sack number.
Thank you. I was in an argument the other day on Facebook.
You could argue that Bill O'Brien did Hopkins right by sending him somewhere where he could absolutely get paid.
Sure. Yeah, and that's the thing. Like you kind of look at some of these things and when you break things down and look at it from a non-biased standpoint, like of course as a fan of the Texans, you're going to look at it and be like, well, this trade absolutely sucks because you just traded a top wide receiver. But when you break things down and look at it unbiasedly and see how the things unfolded, they did them right. Now Hopkins will still never say that.
Yeah,
but they did do some things right, and that's one thing that the Texans have done with the Clowney thing. Right, like they had the deal agreed to send him to Miami, and Bill very could have well just been like, all right, well, go to Miami or you're going to sit out because I'm not going to trade you anywhere else. Right, like that package was done, set in stone. Miami flew Clowney out there to visit the facility, talk with Flores and the guys out there, and Clowney still didn't want to go. And so they brought him back to Houston, sat for a week, and then 10 days before the season, he gets shipped to Seattle, right? And then 10 days before that, or that same day, we get, Tunsil. So they've done some things to do right by the players.
Ruben,
Yes, sir.
I got to bounce. Good talking to you, Patrick.
Yeah, we'll be on for the next 5-10 minutes.
Oh, okay.
You know.
If that's
yeah, we'll be at. No, man. I was about to. UFC 251 is tomorrow, so I'm trying to get ready for that. If you guys are not gonna watch it, y'all definitely should. But 44 people deep, guys. We are definitely being watched. Like I said, we don't know why people watch us, but they love the Houston Texans. Here's a good question. Who ends their career as a Texan? J.J. Watt or Merciless? I think Merciless. I think J.J. Watt is going to end up not being a Houston Texan in the next couple of years.
So is this in terms of who retires while still on the team, or the Andre Johnson comes back and retires a Texan after he left?
I think just leaves.
Well, I don't think either of them. I think both of them play somewhere else before they retire. And I think,
agree.
Yeah, it could be as early as next season.
For Watt, yes. Merciless, no. Merciless, nobody will take on that contract at this point.
Oh, there you go. He confirmed it. I've been on J.J. Watt leaving the Houston Texans for a while, Patrick. I've been saying this since 2 years ago, and people were like, "Oh no, you're dumb. You don't know anything about football." So
I think at the end of the day, you got to look at what makes sense financially for the team, and paying JJ, unless they can get him to agree to an extension, which he said, that he's not looking for at this point, even though before last season he was.
Yeah.
And so it's one of those things that if they can get him to take an extension to drop his cap hit, then I think he stays. But if they can't, if he's not willing to, then that's one of those decisions that the team's going to have to make and to clear up some cap space because they're likely going to need it.
Who would have the most potential of traded here? Jamal Adams or Antonio Brown?
Antonio Brown.
Oh.
Why do you think that? It's hard to compare.
You don't think Jamal Adams?
I mean, I get what Jamal can bring to the defense, but I think the threat of having another weapon for Deshaun, it all boils back to Deshaun for me.
Okay, that makes sense. I guess who would have the bigger impact to say if we got both? You think AB still?
That's hard to say.
I think it's Jamal, man. I think Jamal does a lot for Reed and a secondary in general, and then plus his ability to get sacks is uncanny for a safety.
4 sacks last season.
Yeah, so I think Jamal would have the bigger impact, but potential. I guess it kind of depends on how you want to look at that. AB potentially could be, an All-Pro with Watson. So
that's my thinking on it, and even Jamal could even be an All-Pro, on the defense. And we've seen it. He has the potential. He's there. He's 2 years in the league, and he's considered one. He's going on his third year, and he's considered one of the best safeties to play the game, or playing the game right now. So the potential is there for both. Absolutely,
right.
There's no denying it.
Houston Texans thought, thank you for the $1.99. Talk about the Texans wanting to replace Bernard McKinney. I haven't heard anything about that. I'm not sure if you, Patrick, have heard about the possibility of McKinney leaving.
Well,
it all. Go ahead, Cody. Sorry.
Well, would it be Cunningham taking over McKinney's role and then bringing in someone to fill Cunningham's spot, or something along those lines?
It just at the end of the day, it all just boils down to the game evolving away from a pure run stuffing linebacker, and we saw that start to happen with Brian Cushing, and McKinney still had a spot and is still very good. Don't get me wrong, Bernard McKinney is still a very good linebacker, but it's getting to the point where you have running backs like Christian McCaffrey, and he's good against Derrick Henry because Derrick Henry's not that big threat coming out of the backfield to catch the ball. He's coming up the middle. But you've got running backs like Christian McCaffrey, Kareem Hunt, these guys that are coming out of the backfield that can catch the ball because they're like a wide receiver, that you've got to be able to cover them. And you can't just keep dropping a safety to cover them all the time. So it's one of those things where you've got a guy like Zach. Now, Zach's not the greatest in coverage and man coverage. Zach is great in zone coverage. But this team is getting away from the zone coverage type of stuff and going more to a man.
Yeah.
So you just need somebody that's faster. And I think if they were to do it, the guy to replace to fill Zach's role is already on this team, and is Dylan Cole.
Yeah.
And with Dylan Cole be able to keep pace with people down the sidelines.
Mm-hmm.
But at the end of the day, Dylan Cole hasn't been able to stay healthy. So I think McKinney's got a spot on this roster for this season for sure.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, if this was 10 years ago, Bernard McKinney might be the best linebacker in the NFL. But, also going back to what Pat said, look at the first 3 running backs we played. The guy they drafted out of LSU, the Chiefs did. Then we play against Lamar Jackson with Mark Ingram and my boy J.K. Dobbins. And then you have to go against James Conner. And this is what I talked about, like players like Lamar Jackson are changing the NFL. Just because of the type of player that he is, the speed that he has. I think the game will evolve to players who have freakishly large speed. I mean, look at Isaiah Simmons basically running a linebacker, running like a running back, or that offensive tackle from Louisville who ran like a 4-something. It's crazy how fast these people are getting.
Isaiah Simmons is Jadeveon Clowney playing middle linebacker.
So Patrick, let me ask you a question, because here was my thing. I wanted the Houston Texans to fail David Johnson's physical, just to fail it, right? And try to get something more out of the trade. Was that ever a possibility?
No team was willing to give up more draft capital, knowing that what they were going to have to get for a contract and everything like that for Hopkins long term. It doesn't make sense for a team financially to give up a first-round pick and then sign a guy to be top 3 wide receiver money. Yeah. That's you end up like the Rams like that, where now you're strapped for cash and you never have draft picks.
Texans don't have draft capital to get Adams. What you guys think about that?
I mean, they technically do if you want to look at next year's draft picks. I mean, they have them all, first, second, third. They have a third this year. It just depends on essentially for the Jets. If we get into a bidding war, we're going to lose for sure. That's just the way it is. So we have the capital now. Do you want to use the capital we have left? Probably not. But it is.
Personally, I wouldn't. And that's one of those things where we got to look at the long term thing, because you're about to tie up a ton of money into Watson, Tunsil, and coming soon, Cunningham. And you've got to have these guys on cheaper deals that can put the production out on the field. And the only way to do that is through the draft.
Yeah.
Yeah, and there we have it, boys. This was a very, very fun stream. Hate to let you guys go, but all of us have a life, and it's 10:30 at night. I'll leave it with this, guys. Patrick, thank you for coming on. I know we had you on a little bit later. We apologize for that. Cody, also, thank you for coming on. Guys, we love you all. As always, go Texans. You guys have a blessed day.